Good morning. How are you guys? Hope you're doing well. Let's get this on. Hey, there we go. It works. And so I want to make sure I got to look at the camera instead of the computer this morning. Let's do that. Man, I got a wicked glare on my head. It's backwards. There we go. Fix the hair.
This is Bible study, not.
There we go.
It's not Polly Pocket, man. Bible study.
Polly
right?
Pocket. How do you even know what Polly Pocket is, Mike?
Because I cracked that joke with my sister every once in a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike has a sister. Hey.
In case you didn't know.
So, good morning. We hope you guys are doing well. Please submit any prayer requests in the comments section. I am about to, leaders, if you are watching live in the Google Hangouts, I'm about to send you guys the questions this morning. Adobe has not been working great with me lately. So, here we go. There we go. Anyways, so hope you guys are doing well. We are in Isaiah 39 today. A couple announcements before we get into Isaiah 39, because we kind of do need to get through this briefly, because I'm playing on stage this Sunday. It's been good to be back, and we will not have any services Wednesday night, just FYI. So students, don't come up here. I will not be here. Stay home, stay with your family, take the night off. We will be making updates in regards to future student activities in July via social media, email, the internet, snail mail, smoke signals. We may elect a new pope.
Messenger pigeons.
Yeah, this would be good. This would be fun. That's kind of like so far back. It's kind of cool.
I think we should bring it back.
Yeah. What's the they do the dots.
Morse code.
Morse code.
Yeah, that's a good one.
He's an Eagle Scout, so he probably knows Morse code.
I know one message on Morse code.
SOS?
Yeah, that's the only one.
Yeah, okay. Flashlight.
That's the only one you need to know.
Yeah, prayer chains. We will communicate to you guys what is going to be coming up here in the next month or so. And obviously things are kind of changing with just the increase in virus activity, and we want to be safe and smart. We want to be wise about what we do, and we don't want to put anybody at risk. And we want to lower that. We want to be good stewards also of our time, knowing that God still called us to grow. And so we will do something. We will provide something for you. But parents, also be on the lookout for a parent partnering email. And so this is something new that's going to help you guys in the discipleship of your children. So we will provide you a weekly email it's just for you. It's going to give you conversation points. It's going to give you a message each week, kind of giving you something to prepare to talk to your kids about, sharing their time in Bible study, asking them questions about their week. We really want to enable you and help you with that. And so look forward to that coming up, all right? Cool. Well, that being said, let's go ahead and get to it, Mike. Let's go ahead and get into Isaiah chapter 39. All right. Isaiah 39. We are making the turn, all right?
Let me get the Bible app up. There's no excuses. It's in your pocket.
Yeah, the Bible app. Or if you're on the internet, you can just Google the Bible. And sure, you can look it up.
Different translations, too.
And I'm in the broken chair, or the not tight chair. I totally meant to give that to Mike this morning. So if I fall, make sure this makes America's Home Videos or TikTok or something.
Oh, if you fall, don't worry. It'll get out there.
All right, TikTok.
I'll make sure of that.
All right, so Isaiah 39. It's a short chapter for us. So we will go ahead and read that here together. And so I talk a lot, so I'm going to have Mike read. He didn't even know that. So Mike,
really didn't know that. This is
really,
I don't know how to read. Why would you do this? This is awkward.
It's all right.
Especially there's a lot of hard names in here, and
yeah, there are some.
Yeah, there's some not that bad. So
yeah.
All right, sure, no problem. I'll do my best to read this. So forgive me for any mispronunciation of some of these names right out of the bat here. At the time, Merodach Baladan, did I say that right?
Yeah.
Merodach Baladan, the son of Baladan, king of Babylon, sent envoys with letters and a present to Hezekiah, for he heard that he had been sick and had recovered. And Hezekiah welcomed them gladly, and he showed them his treasure house, the silver, the gold, the spices, the precious oil, his whole armory, all that was found in his storehouses. There was nothing in his house or in all his realm that Hezekiah did not show them. Then Isaiah the prophet came to King Hezekiah and said to him, "What do these men say, and where did they come to you?" Hezekiah said, "They have come to me from a far country, from Babylon." He said, "What have they seen in your house?" Hezekiah answered, "They have seen all that is in my house. There is nothing in my storehouses that I did not show them." Then Isaiah said to Hezekiah, "Hear the word of the Lord of hosts. Behold, the days are coming when all that is in your house, and that which is your fathers have stored up to this day, shall be carried to Babylon. Nothing shall be left, says the Lord. And some of your own sons who will come from you, whom you will father, shall be taken away, and they shall be eunuchs in the palace of the king of Babylon." Then Hezekiah said to Isaiah, "The word of the Lord that you have spoken is good." For he thought, "There will be peace and security in my days."
Mm.
Just
Hezekiah, some random stranger, just kind of let him in his house and show him whatever. Kind of questionable.
I know, right? I think it just open book.
Like,
Just like, here, take a look, dude.
mothers and daughters, mothers and fathers, you're not gonna let just like some random person come in your house and you're gonna show them everything.
Yeah,
Kids, don't do that. Kids, don't let random people in your house and show them everything that you have.
I don't care if they say they're from, representing King of Babylon or.
Yeah,
anywhere.
definitely. If they say the King of Babylon,
Yeah.
we're past that. Say no.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I don't care if they're Tom Cruise. Is he even popular anymore? I mean, he is, but is he?
I mean, does he even leave the compound?
Name some. I don't know.
We'll
some
find out
YouTube
if he's still
star.
popular after Top Gun. We'll find
Yeah.
out after the new Top Gun if he's still popular or not.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we'll see.
I'm not holding my breath on that.
Me neither. All right, hey, couple things. Here's the main idea for you guys this morning. As we talk about the tragic end of a short-sighted faith, especially that of Hezekiah. Is when Isaiah warned Hezekiah of the future exile to Babylon, Hezekiah showed no concern because he knew it wouldn't happen in his lifetime. This is a tragic display of short-sighted faith. And so, a couple of highlights for me whenever I read this, and just a couple of things to take away and that aren't main points, but just reading it and just thinking about it, was this chapter really works to sets us up for chapters 44 through 66. Because those first 38 chapters are dealing with Assyria, preparing for Assyria, especially, chapters 20 through 37. And now it's all about Babylon. Babylon is the one that Isaiah is telling them that exile is coming to. Kind of this hidden foe. Babylon was actually a part of Assyria, conquered by Assyria. And so when God killed or struck down the king of Assyria, it made way for Babylon. Now, none of this catches God by surprise. And you'll see that in this chapter because we see that the book of Isaiah is mirrored or paralleled in the book of 2 Kings and Chronicles. And so these are tales and histories of the kings of Israel. And so you see Isaiah's interaction with Hezekiah and Hezekiah's interaction there as well. But this is Isaiah's account. And so Babylon is more than just a world power, too. Babylon represents a lot more in the gospel, in the Bible, than just being a people that took Israel into exile. It represents the great power of the world, but that is opposed to God. All right, so that's why Babylon is such a New Testament topic too, because Babylon is a representative of the world and the great power that it does hold. But what's important is that you understand that Babylon was always opposed to God. And so using that understanding to know what Babylon represents, so when someone says you are, there's some phrases of people of Babylon, or if you are a member of Babylon, that's not really a great term because it's saying you are of the world, you are an enemy of the king, you're an enemy of God. And so it's humanly impressive, but it's opposed to God. And then what we see is when we reminisce on this thing, when we see the story of Hezekiah here, it should remind us of a couple of things. It should remind us to remain faithful, be steadfast, and stand strong, in his promises, in his words. And I was reading this, and I was like, man, I've had so many Hezekiah moments. Because what we see, if we look to Second Chronicles, chapter 32 or 33, we see that God leaves Hezekiah when they come to test him. And it's not that God has abandoned Hezekiah. He steps out to see if Hezekiah will remain faithful. Hezekiah is one of those characters who's up and down, up and down. We see his faithfulness, but then we see his sinfulness. He depends on God when he's broken, but he tends to run towards the political. He likes to hold political power. He likes to hold that in his hands. And so what we see here is that image is he's being tested. All right, I have gotten rid of Assyria. All right, I've gotten rid of that. You were sick, you were crying, you were whining to me, and I protected you. And I told you I'm going to give you 15 more years. Now Babylon comes in. I'm going to see where your heart's really at. And what do we see? That he fails. Ultimately, he fails. And it's his short-sighted faith. And his response, well, surely the word of the Lord is good, which he's not wrong. It's not a wrong statement. But what he's saying is, I have brought peace. And I'm not going to have to deal with this mess. Just FYI, Isaiah said, your sons are going to become eunuchs for the king of Babylon. That's not something I want Knox to have to be. Okay? I don't want Knox to have to be a eunuch for any political power. And so like that should have like given him a warning, but he completely ignored it.
He basically says, "Not my problem."
Yeah, basically.
He basically
he says, "Not my problem."
Sorry, this is such a facepalm moment for
Oh
me.
yeah.
Like,
but the thing we need to understand about Hezekiah is we look down on him, but none of us are better than him. Like we are literally.
Whoa, hang on.
Right. I mean, Mike might have better hair, and probably not a better beard because their grooming techniques are probably.
That's true. The fact that I'm not even
just.
I'm humble.
You didn't shave because you could get an infection on your face. You didn't want to do that. But so that's kind of why that's not why I shave. Because I need the beard to not look 12. And so we see that we are not any greater than Hezekiah. We have these same passing moments. Ups and downs, like where we remain faithful and where we fall. But when we look at the story of Hezekiah, we need to be reminded and be urged to be faithful, to hold fast, and understand that tests are coming, and understand that God uses those. We talked about that in suffering. He uses that to build up in you a good work, to build steadfastness, to build endurance, to build hope, to build character. Hezekiah just lost his mind, basically, and got centered on himself. And we see where it leads. He leads his people. He literally leads his people into captivity. He thought he was delivering them into peace. He is the reason. Well, in their sinfulness, but it's his sinfulness that led them, and his sons set his sons up for failure. And his son does not have a great history. So let's look at these points really quick, and we will work through this. I can't read my handwriting very well.
It's okay, neither can I. I can't read your handwriting either.
Yeah, no. And I wrote this. That's the wrong one. Last night. So, all right. So we'll see. We got basically 5 points this morning. We see that God left to test him. Hezekiah's erratic journey of faith. That's basically what I was talking about. He's just a picture of inconsistency. Like, just like ups and downs. And we see this. This is the account taken in Kings and Chronicles. It's just of how depended on God to remove pagans. He did a really good thing. He removed pagans from the temple. That's really good. But then he was wanted to make alliance with Egypt. All right, which was really, really bad. And so we see that this ignorance. He was faithful to purge, but smoldering in unbelief with political conduct. It's 2 Chronicles 32:31. It says, it recounts his story. And I want to read that to you. really quick. Maybe really quick. And so, here we go. And so, in the matter of the envoys of the princes of Babylon, who had been sent to him to inquire about the sign that had been done in the land, which is the dial being turned backwards, all right? Remember that. God left him to himself, right, in order to test him and to know all that was in his heart. And guess what? He failed miserably, all right?
You got to show off all this cool stuff.
Yeah, it did. He goes, look, I'm rich. I'm rich.
Check out all my
Look
cool
at all
spices.
look at all the plunder and all this stuff that we've taken, and look, there's the Ark of the Covenant. Like, like those type of things. Like, just I'm telling you, there's some practical insight. Don't let strangers into your closet. I'm telling you right now, don't do that. So teach your children up and raise them up wisely, parents. Don't let strangers into the closets.
Ties into the end of this chapter.
Yeah.
About it.
Yeah. Next point is that the Babylonian envoys and Hezekiah's foolish pride. And we see that in verses 1 through 2. Hezekiah thought Babylon could be a political ally. He was looking to grow in power. He was looking to make a partnership. And so, but at the time, Babylon again was under the control of Assyria, but they were working, they were positioning themselves to take it all over. And Babylon makes Assyria look like nothing. And so, like Assyria was bad, but it pales into comparison what Babylon does to Israel. And we'll read about that. Like, they take the people out and move them out of their place. Like, it's an incredible journey. And so they come and offer. They come to like basically applaud Hezekiah. They rubbing his belly, patting his back, making him feel good about his victory. They had heard about this victory that they had, like these almost 200,000 soldiers that had been killed, which was just remarkable. Like, this is like a 300 moment. Okay.
Look at God.
Yeah. Look at God.
So that's my response.
Yeah. And they're like, hey, look at this. And then Hezekiah's like, yeah, look at us. We should hang out, Like, hey, come look at all my money. And just, oh my gosh. Just, he receives them in, all right, gladly, all right, and showed them all that he had. Hezekiah was enamored with this political moment. He was just excited about it because what it can mean for him. And he had lost the point. And I think just saying where we're at today, we can really learn a lot about this in the political moments that we're in. Where are we putting our trust in? Where are we putting our faith, our power, our hope, our weights, our anchor? Where does it rest in? Does it rest in a political viewpoint, or is it resting in the King of Judah, the King of the world, the King of all things, the Creator? Is it resting in upon the throne above? And we have to seriously answer that question. Some of us may be going through a test at this moment and through these next 6 months of where are we placing our hope. And so Hezekiah's whole thing was fed by his pride. And we know pride is not a good thing to have if you apart from God. All right? Because God is righteous and he is a proud God, a warrior. But Hezekiah was nothing. He was there because God had placed him there. And so then this brings us to our third point. Isaiah hears about this, and he comes and interrogates him. Now, kiddos, it's that moment like where mom and dad know you've done something, and they know, but you're going to try to act like they don't know. And but then you're just like, I'm going to answer honestly and hope it goes well. That's kind of like this thing. Like, because Hezekiah, he's straight up with it. All right? It's kind of like we see this throughout the narrative of Scripture, specifically with God and his people. He gives them an opportunity to repent and confess. Like, I think of the earliest account, Genesis 3 and 4, when God comes in the garden and says, what have you done? He asks them. He knows what they've done. He knows what they've done. And they confess to him. Isaiah comes to Hezekiah and is like, "What have you done? Like, what are you? Have you lost your mind? Why would you do that?" And so, verses 3, 4, he says, he came to Hezekiah and asked him, "What did these men say? And where do they come to you from?" And Hezekiah replied, "They came to me from a distant country, from Babylon." Then Isaiah asks this. He goes, "What have they seen in your palace?" Hezekiah answered, "They've seen everything in my palace. There isn't anything in my treasures that it didn't show him." What are you doing, man? Come on. Oh my gosh.
There's so much.
Oh my gosh. Like, yes. Like, you're setting yourself up to be robbed.
I'm just imagining Hezekiah talking to Isaiah. It's like, have you seen my palace? Come on, dude. You'd show that off too. Like,
Dude,
that's the
come
tone
on,
I
just
imagine
like,
he has. Like, what do you
golly.
think I showed him?
Yeah. Like, yeah. So, like, mom and dad, you come home, some stranger's been in your house, you ask your kids, you're like, what did you show? Oh, we showed them everything. What do you mean? You showed them this.
Showed him the big screen.
Yeah.
Dad's price.
Come back 2 weeks
memorabilia.
later and everything's gone.
Yeah, no joke.
I'm like, come on. Like, and I have a story about that. I'll have to tell later. I can't tell it on the camera. But real life, okay?
Oh,
so,
man.
like,
that's cool.
kids, learn from Hezekiah. Don't do this. Don't invite people from far lands that you don't know because of your pride, and then show them everything.
This story is like so.
Like, it sounds pretty easy, like duh, but like pride and ignorance and arrogance, and they get in the way and they blind. And Isaiah was proud and arrogant here. He was looking for power, and so we see that. And Isaiah, this is basically the beginning of God dealing with Hezekiah, his pride. All right, but we do see the confession here. We see, the call and the response. And then this brings us to our fourth point. All right, the shook factor is what I'm calling it. All right, because he's about to get shook. The shocking, yeah, I mean he does. It's the shocking prophecy of the Babylonian captivity. But I mean, in the history, like for Israel can go back and be like, come on, all right. There's a shook factor here, all right. This is the hinge passage in the book. So we're moving from, basically it's right in the middle. Moving from we were in Assyria, we're moving to Babylon, all right. This is where we move, all right, and we see these shocking details of the prediction. Everything Hezekiah was proud of and full that had fallen into his hands was about to fall out and fall into the hands of Babylon. All right, and this prophecy is really, this is the key to the book. This is key to when we really get into Isaiah 40, 43, 44, Isaiah 53, Isaiah 55, Isaiah 63. These key Jesus prophecies, because this is where it's really saying, man, we're moving to the point of seeing a Messiah that's going to deliver us from exile, that's going to deliver us from Babylon. And this is where Babylon starts to become more than just a country, more than a power, but a representation of the world. And how Isaiah is pointing us to this, pointing that, hey, Israel, you're going to be something greater. It's going to be more than just you. God's people is going to grow, and it's going to be called together by one person, by one king, by the humble servant, as we'll see in Isaiah 43 and then 53 and 44 and all. Babylon really pushes us to see Jesus, and just the comparison of the two. Like here's a rightful king. Here's what the world does, and Isaiah opens our eyes to that. And unfortunately, it was at the cost of these people. But that's what God does. He works through these evil acts to declare His good, because it is fitting. It is fitting that it does that. Because how could we ever know a Messiah if we were not apart from Him? And so He's setting it. He's setting the stage. He's setting it up. He's putting it up on a pedestal. But somehow we still mess it up. And so, we see this prophecy that Isaiah puts forth to him in verses 5 through 7, and he says, Isaiah said to Hezekiah, hear the word of the Lord of armies. Look, the days are coming when everything in your palace and all that your fathers have stored up until today will be carried off to Babylon. He's saying, look, you just let them in, and they're going to come in and take it. All right, because you failed the test, because you did not trust. You have this weakness, and this is where it's going to lead. All right, um, and nothing will be left. Some of your descendants who come from you, who you father, so your sons, your grandsons, your children, will be taken away, and they will become eunuchs in the palace of the king of Babylon. That is not a good thing. Eunuch is not a good thing. Your sons will be painfully punished and will have to serve a foreign king in the place of foreign gods. All right. And Hezekiah's response is just,
Not my problem.
yeah, okay, yeah. Well, I brought peace. And
That sucks for them.
that's his short-sighted reaction. And that's the scary thing about having short-sighted faith. Well, and that's, as Christians, we have been so guilty of this. Well, I don't, it doesn't bother me, doesn't affect me. Well, it does, because you know why? What it does, you're not being faithful to the Word of God. You're not being faithful and obedient to what He's called you to do. You give an inch, Satan takes a mile. Hezekiah gave an inch, Babylon took it all. And so the world is the same. We give them an inch here, we do this here, they're going to take it all. And then we're going to have no idea or be unrecognized. We're going to unrecognize where we are today. And so, or where we've been. And so we need to heed these warnings. We need to learn from the past mistakes. And the good news is that God's grace is greater, right? And Jesus' love is efficient and sufficient. And so there is time, and there is salvation in the patience of the Lord. And so we see Hezekiah's short-sighted reaction, his self-focus, and there's no concern for the big picture. And then we see that Manasseh is waiting in the wings. He's just like, all right, I brought peace. See you guys. So,
Deuces.
yeah. I mean, the thing to me is like, this sounds really familiar. We share in that short-sightedness, as long as our short-term, immediate wants or needs are taken care of. We forget about the long picture, the big picture, not the long picture. I mean, I guess it could be a long picture. The big picture, the overall thing. And so my prayer for us is that when we are in the Word, when we are going through this stuff, when we are in this moment right now, which I mean, really, we were short-sighted in our reaction. If we just want to take about like how we reacted to this, we have to look at the big picture. When you are raising a child, when you have a newborn, you don't like, oh, it's been 3 weeks, I'm going to move off of formula because this is easier. No, you stay in the formula so your child can take and be healthy enough to eat real food. It takes time. You can't just want to jump to the next thing. You take these steps. You move slowly, and you're obedient in that. And there's real benefit in the process, real growth in the process. And so in the midst of a storm, in the midst of trials, in the midst of persecution, in the midst of all these things, we cannot lose sight of what God has promised us for short-term comforts. Yes, relief is good, and we are thankful for it, but it is not the end result. And so we need to make sure that when we are growing, when we are focusing, when we are preaching the gospel, when we are being obedient, we're not doing it as a hellfire insurance. We're not doing it just as to get to heaven. Because the news is this: heaven is not the final plan. There's going to be a new kingdom and a new earth, a new mount. All right, Mount Zion, and that's the goal. That's the promise. And so we are working. We are growing. We are being patient. We are being faithful. We are trusting for that moment. And we want people to experience that moment. We want them to have hope. We want them to have peace. We want them to have salvation. And so here's the practical applications for today. We need to reset our focus. Realign our minds. Paul says we need to be constantly renewing our minds and our hearts to the gospel. So we need to make sure, and this has been something that I have been deeply convicted of, that I have not let the gospel and the Word of God saturate my heart and impact every crevice of my life. So if I do that, I'm going to be more aware of when those tests happen, to trust in the Lord and be faithful and obedient and not fall into temptation. And then the second is let us see how God uses circumstances to reveal hidden agendas and reveal the sickness or the illness in our hearts. So let us fear the Lord. Let Him search us. Let Him work through us. Let Him reveal what has been on, like what the illness is inside, the crevice. That's exactly what happened to Hezekiah through all of this. We see where his heart lies. We see the weakness. And so may we have that revealed, and may we hand that over. And then third is understand how it's acceptable. That's a hard word for me to say. The human heart is pride. We need to understand, like, we are all capable of falling into that. Not one of us. Right. Mike is a super proud person. I'm the most humble person here.
Oh yeah.
I'm the humblest person on staff.
Yeah, let's not talk about we're talking
I'm the
about baseball.
humblest. I'm the most humble of all.
Oh yeah, sure,
Right.
I'm sure you are. I can
Right.
tell.
Yeah. Right. As an OU fan, it's really hard to be humble because you're just good. As a Cardinal fan, same thing.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I
You
need
got
to say that.
12 worlds. See what I'm saying? So not one of us is void of falling to that temptation. And so Psalm 115 says this: "Not to us, Lord, not to us, but to your name give glory. May we give glory to the Lord in all things. May we hand it all over to Him. May it not rest upon us in our works and our achievements, but let it rest on Him." And then the fourth and final point is this: that we must look to, invest in, encourage, and grow future generations. Hezekiah said, "Not my problem." Parents, you need to invest in your children. Children, you need to invest in your siblings and your friends. It's the future generations that will be that are going to be in it. I mean, like, till Jesus comes, right? We can't have that short-sighted faith. We have to invest in them to be disciple makers, to love well, to love people as they are created in the image of God, to treat them as image bearers, to be leaders in the church, to be teachers of the word, to be doers of the word, to be community leaders, to be good influences, to be people winners, but that happens by us investing in them, by us encouraging them. It doesn't happen just by osmosis. I mean, we have to be intentional. And so, parents, we want to help you with that. That's why we are beginning the parent partnership. That's why, students, we are so heavily, you hear me say discipleship enough. That is more important than events. We want you to understand who God is. We want to walk through the trials and the heartaches and the hearts with you. We want to cry with you. We also want to celebrate and sing and dance with you at the same time, so that when the time comes, when you are leading us, when you are in this role, you will do the same in preparing future generations, so that they're not captive by Babylon and they're not made eunuchs for the foreign king. That's not good. So we will see the effect of our works, how God has led us to invest in people, or we also see the effects, like Hezekiah, of not, and that's not good. And so I think we've kind of experienced both in the church today. We have definitely seen generations come and go. And so my prayer is that my generation would invest in their children and their children, so that the next generations to come will be leaders in the church, no matter where we are at politically. I don't care. All right. I want people to know Jesus, and I want them to find hope and have peace in that, and something greater than themselves. And so, guys, that is our word this morning. Reset your focus. All right. Understand that we are all susceptible to sin and to pride in general, and that we need to be looking towards the future. in the moment now and in tomorrow.
And
So
don't let strangers into your house.
yeah, don't let strangers into your house, and don't show them everything. Okay, there's some real practical parenting advice, students. There's some real practical advice. Don't even let them in your car. Okay, come on, don't be like Hezekiah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you.
You
So,
let him in his car.
yeah, come on, don't do it. So,
Or chariot.
yeah, some on his horse.
Other transportation he had, I'm sure he had something.
Yeah, I'm sure he had a G6.
Jetpack.
Yep. Hey guys, we love you. We're thankful for you. Make sure you're tuning in next week with us here on Sunday morning. Remember, there's nothing this Wednesday. We'll see you guys on Facebook again. Look out for posts about that. Subscribe to our YouTube page. Do all that good stuff. All right, we'll see you later.